Ever feel like the future of education, well, it's changing faster than a syllabus during midterms? You're trying to master online learning and bam, everyone's talking about AI.
It is moving fast.
So buckle up, because on today's deep dive, we're going beyond the buzzwords. We're talking generative AI in higher ed.
And getting into the nitty-gritty.
We're cracking open a strategy guide, enhancing higher education with generative AI, a responsible approach, to see how universities are turning, like this tech, into an actual teaching tool.
Practical applications.
And it's not just talk, we're going beyond theory. We've got stories from places like Michigan, MIT, Emory, who are already using this stuff.
Real-world examples.
Right, so no robot overlords here.
What's exciting is it's not about replacing professors with robots. It's about really understanding how this technology can help educators do what they already do best, but even better.
Okay, so less robot overlords, more like, what, robot TAs.
Exactly. Think of it as a power-up for personalized learning.
So less time greeting those late-night essays and more time, actually connecting with students. That's the dream. But how's it working in the real world? This guide talks about Michigan building its own AI tool called Maizey, right?
Yeah. They wanted a way to give students like 24/7 support, kind of like a digital study buddy.
Nice.
And because it's a no-code platform, instructors, even those who aren't coders themselves, can tailor Maizey to their specific courses.
No-code AI.
Yeah.
That sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but also surprisingly straightforward.
It is pretty futuristic when you think about it. Imagine you're struggling with a concept in your economics class. It's 2 a.m. Instead of waiting for office hours, you can just log on to Maizey, and it breaks down that concept in a way that makes sense to you.
So it's like having a personalized tutor on demand. No more frantic late-night texts to your classmates hoping they understand the assignment. Did using Maizey actually help students, though?
That's the thing. It did. In one supply chain management class, they saw grades go up by an average of 10% after Maizey was incorporated into the course.
A 10% jump. Now, those are some results worth writing home about. What about the professors? Did Maizey just create more work for them?
Actually, the opposite happened. Because Maizey was handling a lot of the basic questions, instructors found they had an extra 10 to 12 hours per week freed up. That's time they could then dedicate to more in-depth learning and interaction with students.
I'm starting to see why people are excited about this, I have to admit. But let's be honest, some people are worried about students using AI to, shall we say, take shortcuts with their work. Is that a valid concern?
It's something educators are thinking about, which is why the strategy guide talks about shifting toward authentic assessment.
Okay, break that down for me. What is authentic assessment and how does it relate to AI?
So it's about moving away from assignments that AI can easily game, like just memorizing facts and dates. Instead, it focuses on evaluating a student's ability to actually apply knowledge in real-world scenarios.
I like that.
Think, critical thinking, problem solving, analyzing information, forming arguments, things that are much harder for AI to, replicate convincingly.
So less about spitting back what the textbook says and more about using your brain to actually engage with the material.
Exactly. Imagine instead of simply asking students to, list the causes of the American Revolution, an instructor using authentic assessment might challenge them to analyze primary source documents from that period,
Oh, wow.
and use those to construct their own argument about the revolution's causes.
That's a much more engaging and intellectually stimulating way to learn. But wouldn't creating those kinds of assignments just add to the workload for already busy professors?
It's a valid concern, but remember those extra 10, 12 hours per week instructors were gaining by using tools like Maizey?
Right.
That time can now be reallocated to developing these more engaging and authentic assessments.
It's like AI is freeing up instructors to do what they, do best, which is teach, mentor, and inspire. But it's not all sunshine and roses, right? There must be challenges when it comes to implementing AI in a way that benefits everyone. This strategy guide emphasizes lifelong AI literacy. What exactly does that mean?
It's like this, remember how I used to talk about learning how to code? Like that was a crucial skill for the future.
Right back when knowing HTML basically made you a wizard.
Exactly. AI literacy is similar. It's not just about being able to use these AI tools, but it's understanding how they work, their limitations, how to use them ethically and effectively throughout your life, not just in school.
So it's like you don't need to be a master chef to use a microwave, but you do need to know that you shouldn't put metal in there.
That's a great analogy. And this strategy guide highlights how universities like Arizona State, Emory, they're developing like entire courses and programs dedicated to AI literacy.
So not just teaching with AI, but teaching about AI. What kind of skills are we talking about here?
It's a mix of practical and critical thinking skills. On the practical side, students might learn how to use different AI tools for research, writing, data analysis, that sort of thing.
Okay, that makes sense. Tools change so fast these days. Being able to adapt is key.
Exactly. But then there's the critical thinking side. This is about understanding how AI works, how to evaluate the information it produces, and how to use it responsibly and ethically.
So thinking about things like bias and algorithms, data privacy, those kind of big picture issues.
Exactly. This guide really emphasizes the importance of universities taking a proactive role in shaping not just AI users, but like AI citizens.
AI citizens, I like that. People who are informed and empowered to use this technology for good. But what does that look like in practice? How are universities actually making sure AI benefits everyone, especially when we're talking about accessibility?
That's a critical question. And the good news is that institutions are like baking accessibility into their AI development process right from the start. So, for instance, the University of Michigan is committed to making all of its AI offerings, including Maizey, compatible with existing assistive technologies.
So students who rely on, say, things like screen readers or text-to-speech software, they aren't left behind.
Exactly. Everyone deserves a chance to benefit from these advancements, regardless of their abilities. And Arizona State University is taking this a step further. They're developing a multimodal app powered by AI to make learning more engaging and accessible for a wider range of students.
Multimodal app. Sounds fancy. What exactly is that?
Imagine an app that presents course material in various ways, like visually, audibly, through interactive exercises, all powered by AI. If you're a visual learner, you might get like diagrams and illustrations. But if you're more of an auditory learner, you could listen to the information.
It's like personalized learning on steroids. But AI can also create a lot of data. How are universities handling data privacy, especially student information?
That's a huge concern, which is why this guide stresses the importance of having clear guidelines and policies in place. Like, for example, the University of Michigan hosts Maizey and its other AI platforms on a secure private cloud.
So student data stays internal, not floating around on some random server.
Exactly. It's like a digital vault for student information. Emory University takes a similar approach, working closely with cybersecurity experts and their Center for Ethics to ensure that data privacy is like built into every stage of their AI development.
It seems like transparency and collaboration are key here.
Absolutely. This guide actually mentions that the University of Michigan is considering open sourcing the code for Maizey in the future.
Wow. So other institutions could potentially use their work as a blueprint for developing their own AI tools. That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. It is. And that spirit of sharing is crucial. Arizona State is already sharing a lot of its AI research and resources online. The more we can learn from each other and work together, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this new landscape.
This has been incredibly insightful, but I have to ask, with all this talk about AI, what happens to the human element of education? So we've talked about all the cool things AI can do in higher ed, but this guide we're looking at, it doesn't shy away from, the big question. What about the human side of learning?
It's easy to get caught up in the tech itself, but ultimately education is about so much more than just, transferring information. It's about, fostering critical thinking, creativity, like those uniquely human qualities that make us who we are.
Qualities that, let's be honest, AI isn't exactly known for. Yet.
Exactly. And that's why this idea of, humans in control is so important. It's not about AI replacing educators. It's about giving them the tools and insights to do what they already do best, but even better.
So how do we make sure that happens? This guide hints at, like, some ethical dilemmas universities are facing.
One of the big ones is figuring out, like, how much control should instructors have over how students use AI in their courses? Like, can you imagine a scenario where it might actually make sense to, like, limit AI use for certain assignments?
Interesting. It's like maybe for a history essay, you want students to, like, grapple with those primary source documents themselves, not just ask an AI to summarize them.
Precisely. Or think about, creative writing courses. Part of the learning process is struggling with writer's block, experimenting with different styles, right? And AI could probably spit out a technically proficient poem, but would it have that spark of human ingenuity?
That's a great point. It's about figuring out, like, when AI is truly enhancing the learning process versus, when it might be hindering it.
And this goes beyond just, like, the classroom, too. This guide pushes us to think about how these ethical considerations around AI will continue to impact students' lives after they graduate.
Because let's face it, this isn't some like futuristic fantasy anymore. This technology is already out there shaping, the workforce, the way we communicate, everything.
Exactly. So it's not enough to just equip students with the technical skills to, use AI. We need to prepare them to be thoughtful, ethical stewards of this technology in all aspects of their lives.
Stewards of AI, I like that. So it's less about will robots take our jobs and more about how do we work with AI to build a better future for everyone.
Now you're getting it. This isn't just a technological challenge, it's a fundamentally human one. And I think that's what makes this whole conversation so fascinating and a little daunting, to be honest.
No kidding. It's both exciting and a little intimidating to think about, like how much is still unknown, how quickly things are changing.
Absolutely. But that's the beauty of a deep dive like this. We don't have all the answers, but we're asking, the right questions, and we're learning from the people and institutions who are really, on the front lines of this technological revolution.
This strategy guide might be about AI in higher education, but it feels relevant for anyone who's thinking about the future of learning, period.
I completely agree. And on that note, I think it's time to, hand it back to our listeners.
Absolutely. We've explored a ton today, from the nuts and bolts of AI tools like Maizey to the bigger picture of what it means to be human in an increasingly AI-driven world.
It's a conversation that's just beginning.
So to everyone listening, we want to hear from you. Where do you see the biggest opportunities and challenges for AI in education? Head over to social media and share your thoughts using hashtag #DeepDiveAADU. Let's keep this conversation going. And that wraps up our deep dive into the world of generative AI in higher education. Until next time, keep those minds curious.